All right, I wanted to make this video in response to Native Habitat Project's video about passion flower and having wilder, wilier gardens. So I'm going to turn this camera around and show you this plant, but I say plant. It's a small jungle, and I love it for that. So I literally can't get a shot wide enough to get this whole plant system, but it's like, if you can't tell, I love vines. So this started out as like maybe 2 or 3 plants 2 or 3 years ago. And this year, hi baby, I added, I added a number of other plants. I'm honestly not sure how many. And luckily my neighbors have been super cool, because I was like, oh no, this passion flower project is turning into a whole situation, as people have always talked about, being afraid, like, I don't want to plant passion flower because it's going to take over. But most people are not planting passion flower the way I'm planting passion flower. I don't think you have as much to really, oh my God, you leave that butterfly alone. Oh my God. If you don't plant like 20 of them like me, you'll probably be fine. Except maybe you do want it to take over, because this is awesome. My cats come over here and they have a little corner of shade when the sun is just like blasting this property all day. I find tortoises down here because this is a cool little like fortunate pocket of moisture, and the other parts of the yard just get baked and dried out, and this is like a little haven. Actually it's a big haven. The turtle can't go like through here, but this is full of habitat. It's full of food now, because like all the passion fruits are starting to drop to the ground finally. I'll take some of the bunk tomatoes and tomatillos off my other garden beds and chuck them in here. I have this red bud going in here that I just put in this year. It's getting a little beat up, but it's holding up just fine in the heat. I planted it in kind of like a sink area. And I think that's where the turtle's nest is. It's like this very prominent hole in the ground. And I see the tortoise coming over here. So I'll throw some of the tomatoes and stuff in here too. And I'm just kind of adding, clippings, prunings, things like that. But we're getting kind of past the prime for the flowers. It's like it's still flowering prolifically, but they're not, you can tell it's like the drier part of the year. Like they looked a lot more robust in June and the first half of July. But I mean, this has been loaded with fruit for months because I started all of this really early in the year. And as you can maybe see, I'm moving a little too fast. There are so many pollinators and other insects, and like there's cool spiders in here. There's just so much going on. These are some ginger flowers. Like literally every day I come out into my backyard, I see at least one new insect I've never seen before. And I'm not somebody who's been a shut-in when it comes to being outside and getting in the woods and getting in nature. I don't know how many collective feet of passion flower vine this is. It would be impossible, saying some very tedious project to unwind all of it. But look how many blooms. These are like the new buds that haven't opened up yet. It's not even about to be done. Oh, look at that little fly. I've seen a bunch of these this year. I don't know anything about it. Somebody tell me about it. But it's like, I just let this vine take over the fence, and it looks so much nicer than just a ugly chain link fence. And then my gourd plant kind of takes over right there, but it's like, and here the two shall meet. Just bonus material. This is my spotted Monarda. Monarda punctata, if you will. One of my favorite of the Monarda. Anyway, I could go on for a long time, but just because I'll make a quick thing about the lamb's quarter in the back. Oh yes, that's a lamb's quarter plant. A singular lamb's quarter plant. The thing that looks like a tree. The passion flower vine is climbing over the top of it and is about to touch the house. Nope, it's touching the house. Wow. That's it right there. It's literally touching the house as of this morning. I love it. I love my little jungle. Anyway, bye. Okay, this might look like an unhinged mess to most of you, but to me, it is a small jungle of glory. This is, okay, I've been planting lamb's quarters for a few years, and it normally does like a couple feet tall, 4 feet tall, like if I'm lucky. Never has it turned into a tree or like a large shrub, but this is a singular lamb's quarter plant. Yeah, I had like, when I try to describe to people, especially who have no familiarity with what lamb's quarters is, it's like I need to just stop trying to describe it to them, because what I was expecting when I planted this, it's like getting an entirely different plant altogether, but it's lamb's quarters. And I was just said, you know what, go buck wild. Because at first I was like, the neighbors aren't going to like it. Or you know what, I don't know, maybe I should tame this beast. But it has, I don't know if you can see that little tip right there. That's the tallest one. However, it would be much taller, except that the passion flower vines and the gourds are pulling it over. So it's at a sharp angle now. It would be much taller if it were upright still, but you can see how the passion flowers that I've let take over this whole fence, they've come around, swooped up, gone over the top, and are about to make contact with the roof. And back here, let's go back here. All right, so I was trying to keep the gourds up, but I mean, they're climbing all over everything. There's gourds down here now, which is fun. There's a tree I have planted in. I've kind of just let this be whatever, and I really haven't even gotten down in here to see what's going on, but there's all kind of celosia and rose mallow, hibiscus, which is one of our natives. There's a bunch of other hibiscus down here. It was kind of a lot of my like throwaway seeds and plants that I just chucked in this corner after I ripped out all the grass. There's Mexican petunias over here, another gourd planted down there. But I mean, this, I don't know how many passion flower plants this started as, but there were a few that I'd planted here in the past 3 years, like a couple. And then I added a bunch more passion flower vines, but it's like they all just took off this year, and there's over 50. There's no way I could know how many feet of all these vines, like if they were all traveling straight, because they're just all over each other. They're zigzag back every which way, because for a while I was training them on the fence. And then I just had too many plant things going on to keep up with it, and I was like, you guys are on your own. I've barely watered this. Oh, hi. Look who it is. Hi, baby. I've barely watered this whole area. And it's the most lush, like, zone of all the gardening I have going on around the yards. It's like between these natives and how, I guess just, all right. I say I haven't watered this area much at all comparatively, but if you look here, this is like a depression in the ground. This was where a tree used to be maybe a decade ago. And then my mom was taking the cat litter and dumping it in here because it was like a sinkhole for years. And so I considered it a toxic spot. I wasn't going to grow food over here. And I was like, you know what I could do? Like, maybe what would help is putting plants in this hole. Maybe that would help prevent it from continuing to be a sinkhole. What am I looking at right here? There's like a red... Is that going to focus? Please focus. What is that? How peculiar. Can't focus. I'm not at the right angle to... There it is. There it is. How strange, in a sense. At any rate, I thought maybe planting it would be better than just continuing to dump porous drainage material in there. So, yeah, this has been a bottomless pit for years. So I threw a thick layer of compost. I put tons of like grass clippings and other mulch and whatever. I made it a dump for like the grass clippings from the yard. Finally, I put a big layer of compost, planted it with a bunch of stuff. Eventually did this straw barrier on the outside, and that's what's been my primary. I'm not going to say it suppressed all the weeds, but it suppressed it enough for me to get this other whole bunch of stuff going. Which in some cases, that's all you need. Like, you're not needing to make sure a blade of grass doesn't show up. There was some Centaurea. This has been completely neglected, and it's just past its season. There is a really cool celosia growing up in here that just started flowering now. That stuff, oh, I've been so excited. It's huge. On the other side, there's a, hi Colton, there's a lime green zinnia and some datura down here that's been flowering, but not as much as my other datura. However, it's down here, sorry. It's also not getting eaten up like my other datura. That's a past prime lime zinnia. These have been like much smaller blooms, but I've quite enjoyed them, to say the least. The blooms are getting even smaller. They were a little bigger. But it's like, it's kind of using the lamb's quarter plant to hold up. This is about to fall down. Ooh, look at that extra juicy. Ooh. Yeah, the limbs are starting to be ripped off the plant. I grew that, like, normally I'm growing lamb's quarters for food because it's a cousin of spinach. In this case, because of the history of this sinkhole with the cat litter, I am just growing it to fill the hole and to have plants here. It's creating an immense amount of shade where we get just blasted all day with the sun here. And then, even more important, when this is done, it's like, I'm not worried that the plant is falling down, that the limbs are falling off, and that it's starting to look scraggly, where like 2 weeks ago, it was like much fuller and lush looking. Because I'm not worried about it going to pot because this is an incredible amount of biomass that's super nutrient rich. I'm going to create lots of mulch with it that's going to add to my other beds and this area when it's done, which will continue to help suppress the grass in my planted areas. So that's a whole thing. Very, very pleased. I hope it does this again next year because this is awesome. What are we stocking? Colton. Cortoni. El cortón. Loco tantito. The wild lion in the savannah meeting the jaguar as he emerges from the jungle. Well, I mean, I could talk about these patches. I don't want to right now. I'm going to stay on topic.